Hello, Pijat Tabino. It is the afternoon time here in Nevada. My name is Michelle McCauley. I am a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe on Washoe, Shoshone, Paiute, and Quinault. I am a Native American performer, dancer, educator. I worked for a time in higher education as the Intertribal Higher Education Program coordinator at the University of Nevada, helping to bring the UNR powwow back. And that was a while ago. I advised students, all college students, any college students. I worked in the cultural center, but I helped advise especially our Native students on how to get through higher education. And that's what I wanted to speak to everybody here today. So I do have a master's degree from the University of Nevada, Reno. My bachelor's is also from the University of Nevada, Reno. However, I wanted to speak today on types of students that attend universities and types of students, what happens to these people once they graduate. And if you are in higher education, you're thinking about going to higher education, you know people who have received their higher education, this is a video to kind of put out there for more information on this subject, because we hear all the time, go get your higher education, it's a good thing, education is such a great thing. But what is it? What is an actual when you get an education at a higher institution, when you get an associate's degree, usually associate's degrees are associated with community colleges. Who can enroll in community colleges? Pretty much anybody, which is why it's called a community college. What's the difference between a community college versus a university? Well, universities usually have requirements. So I did not go to a tribal college or anything like that. So I can really only speak to the university experience, right? The one where when you apply to a university, you have to pay a fee. You have to take certain courses during your high school years to be able to qualify to go directly into a university, and you need to take certain types of classes. You can't just take any classes. Even college readiness actually starts now as young as probably the 5th and 6th grades prior to going into middle school, so that your student can be able to take the classes that they're going to need in order to be able to get into a university. If you're not an alumni of a university, right? Alumni children of universities may sometimes be cut a little bit more slack because they're children of alumni or different things. However, when we're talking about Native American students in higher education, some of us are getting our education. I'm in my 30s, so I went directly from my high school directly into a university system. Now, I had no Native American club at my school. I went to a primarily white dominant school, and at the time, and I graduated in a class of we had about 500 students, about 430 so made it to graduation. Music, I was heavily involved in music. I chose on purpose not to play sports. I did play in a league outside my high school, but I went a different route for myself. I was really interested in music, so I chose that over sports. With all that being said, we all know of schools and stuff here on the reservations, Indian education. I wanted to bring up a very important topic to talk about the types of collegiate students that we have. It's not enough just to go to the university, get your degree, and then you come out, you're able to go back and you're able to help your community. That is not how the system works today. Because when you go to a university, you are going to learn a lot of different skills, and depending upon the type of university student you are, if this is your first time being away from home, you hear, you go into these classrooms, you hear people making slights against your own culture. You're not wanting to stand up for that. You're not willing to raise your hand because you haven't been out in society before. You don't even know that half these people have no idea that Native American people are still alive, let alone how we really live. Like, growing up on the reservation is not always does not mean that you're going to be behind everybody. It provides you a sense of identity, hopefully, and you have these things. Now, when you are the collegiate student, you are Native American, and you attend your classes, you have a certain ways, you have choices of how you want to attend college. Are you going to want to be the student who's just attending college to fade in the background, to then hopefully go back and then help your people? Well, if you're not able to stand up and speak out in your college classrooms for, to educate other people about your culture and where you come from, you're not going to be able to do that when you become an employee of whatever institution that you're trying to be a part of, unless you start discovering who you are, really have a strong sense of cultural identity, and then on the other side seek to understand people, the society that's happening around you, because more than likely, unless you're attending a tribal college, you're going to be the only one person that is going to be in your college classroom. Now, if you're in performance based, if you were able to get on a sports team, if you were able to be like I was in music department, that also speaks a little bit to your character and what type of person you will be once you graduate from the university. So were you on a sports team in college? Now here's the other part that I want to bring up, because I'm starting to see how important this is being. If you were on a sports team, if you did make it, were you a star athlete, or were you just one of the other people whose names can go unmentioned? You didn't break any records. You were just on the school team. Like for instance, when I decided to go to school for I was in the marching band. I not only was a member of the marching band, I led the marching band, right? Over all these other students who come from different backgrounds. Now, what that led to in the collegiate manner of the university that I went to, because the majority of the band had never known a Native American person, they've never seen, right, a person of color really lead, and didn't know anything about where I came from. But I was chosen as a leader because of my music skill was so high. Those people who were very uncomfortable or didn't understand about me, their slights against me came out, and it came out in a big way. Now when you go to a school like that and you are chosen as one of the leaders, you do step out, you are on the councils, you are indigenizing spaces to where normally Native Americans in general have not been. How are you handling that? Or, I could have just been another member of the band, being like, okay, nobody ever discriminated against me. No, I was fine. No, everyone treated me they treated me fine. I could put my blinders on, right, and my skill level, if I wanted to just fade into the background, and then I wanted to be people's best friends because I wanted people to like me. Well, that's not exactly creating a champion for change, and that's not what's going to change our current situations that we have on the reservations. So when you go to college, when you are a collegiate student as a Native person, what type of student are you going to be? Are you going to be the student who's going there to make changes? Or do you have it in the back of your mind, I'm just going to get my information, and then I'm going to take this home, and then I'm going to get a job somewhere at the tribe within my major, and then they're going to support me, and it's going to be all good? Because I'll tell you right now, there are some tensions for people who do graduate from the universities and try to go back to their communities. If you're not a part of a certain family, your skills may not be appreciated as much as somebody else, right? Just the same thing, like we have tribal politics, so-and-so's family's in there, they're getting all the money. Well, so-and-so hired all their relatives. Some of these things still exist on many reservations up wherever you find them. Some of them exist, but then there are some places who are doing away with these things. So I want to just ask you the question, what type of collegiate student are you going to be on campus, right? There's a very big difference between someone who gets their degree in, let's say we'll talk about education, because education is huge on reservations. Our schools are still not making the progress they need to. And so knowing what I know, and I have a master's degree in music education, so I had to spend time in some education courses with other teachers of other subjects in order to get my hours in, or get past the classes so that I could get my degree. What I found in every single one of these classes are people who hold on to stereotypes so they don't know anything else because they've grown up devoid of culture because they live in all the middle class neighborhoods, and so there's a lot of slights in there. However, I chose to speak up. I would choose to raise my hand and just kind of tell them, no, not all Native Americans go to school for free. And yes, we have smart people on the reservation. We have all income levels on the reservation. We have people who have made different choices. Speak up. I've chosen to speak up every single time in those classes. So what that also came with is, once I became an employee, and when you have other Native students who are used to speaking up in their classes as well, when you become an employee with these people, you all have your degrees. But one person will be more outspoken because they know, first of all, their cultural identity. You know exactly who you are, what it means. You know that we are not any less than. We're actually smart. You know the history of your tribe. You know the history of whatever happened to the government and between your tribe, whether your tribe won wars or things like that. You need that piece of information. And then on the other side, you have what the educational law says, and you have both of these things together. So one of the things I really would like to just leave you with a question is, what type of collegiate student are you going to be? Are you going to be involved? Are you going to step it up and really start standing up and just even being brave enough to raise your hand and saying, when people exert things about our culture that are incorrect, basically stereotypes, because that's the majority, that's the bulk of what you're going to hear. Are you going to be able to say something against it to help hopefully get the other narrative out? Whether the people listen to you and really take it in is up to the people, right? We can't change anybody's mind. But if you're there may be, people, and they're like, wow, we had an actual, they may remember you. We had an actual Native person in our class, or Mexican person in our class, whatever your culture is in my class. They spoke up. Now I totally see things different. So they may be at the point where they're ready to be open rather than closed. However, I bring this up just because even if you don't take a stance now, once you get to your degree, once you get to your degree program and you get out there in the workplace, what I see happening are actual collegiate graduates. They're not standing up for our people, right? Even though they have the degree, because something inside, either they weren't the top of their class, or they weren't willing to stand up for our people in the classroom when nobody was in charge of their paycheck. But when it really comes down to, especially in education, we have some of our own Native people who have their degrees siding with non-Native people and thinking that, oh, maybe I would rather be liked rather than really know what our people need. And so I believe that's going to bring about change. So when you go into college, this is me speaking from the advisor standpoint, from having been to college, from having been involved in various aspects of college, from being some of the top performing musicians, within my field, own music field. You have the ability to change things. And outside people to your own nations, and that could be other Native nations coming into your nations, trying to tell your nations what you need, without spending time with a group of people, that's not okay. And we need to be a little bit more vigilant when we send our young people off to colleges, and let them know, there is a place for you when you get back. We completely we believe in your ability to know what our people need, rather than coming back and being seen as a threat. So I just wanted to put that out there in the universe. I will be speaking more on collegiate being a college student, and what we also need to do with your bachelor's, with your master's degree, where we need to go, how do we need to use it. They are not all created the same. And if you do have a bachelor's and master's, and maybe you don't see your significance as a Native person having that degree, you're not using it to the best of your ability. You know the information, you have it. Don't let anybody tell you that you don't. Start standing, up, even if you're the only one, for whatever it is, the area of content that you got your degree in, because you ultimately know what's best. So thank you, Pijat. I'll see you next time.